Welcome back to another episode of 60 Now What?
Well, nice to see you too.
You too, Edna. You too. Always good to see you. I live for these conversations. I hope that our listeners have somebody that's a friend like this.
Yeah, we have a good time.
Yeah.
We do. And guys, we haven't met yet. So could you imagine when we meet?
I cannot wait. I know. I love that we can have these connections via Zoom.
Yeah,
You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like when
absolutely.
we have people in our world that are, too far away from us to get to easily, we can always
Hmm.
connect like this. But yeah, when we
Absolutely.
do hook up in person, it's gonna be lightning.
It is. Yeah, because we're
Oh,
star sisters, so it's like, yeah, it's gonna be some electric things going on
yeah.
there.
Yeah,
A lot of,
that's gonna be great.
it's
That's
fun. Yeah,
yeah, we're gonna have to do
absolutely.
that live.
We do. Yes, we do. That's a good one. I'm gonna remember
That's
that.
That's going to be
Yeah,
fun. Yeah. And the
yeah,
cool thing is there's lots of planes that go in between Florida and New York. It's like
yeah,
that migration, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. What happens at 60 now? What? Everybody from here, oh, I'm going to Florida. Oh, I'm going to Florida. Okay. So you get them.
Exactly. Yeah. Thank you for sharing them. I love that. I love that about you. But I've sent them all back to you for the summer. So
Yeah, they do come back in the summertime. That's thus the traffic.
Oh,
Okay.
I can't blame them. Hotter
Yeah,
than blazes
yeah,
down here.
yeah.
It is. It is definitely hot. It is. And
Yeah.
so is today's
No.
topic.
Yeah. Today's topic is living with regrets.
Yeah.
Now what?
Different perspectives. There's
Yeah.
definitely different perspectives,
Yeah.
when we
Hmm.
what are the things that we don't want to be thinking about on our final day,
Yeah. That's
you
true.
know?
Yeah, we don't want to do that. I mean, even just like on a regular day, we don't want to think I should have did that. You know how like you see something you want to do. Like often used to see, I live on the riverfront, so I always see people canoeing, and I was like, man, I wish I could do that. And all it takes is there's a canoe company right there. Just go get in the canoe and go, right? And that's what I did.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if I would have continued to sit there, that would have been a regret a year in, a year out. I wish I could do that. I wish I could do that. And the wishing doesn't become, reality until you make it happen,
Yeah.
you know.
Right, right. I mean, I think I think there's a lot to be said too for things that, experiences that we've had in the past that,
Mhm.
in retrospect we would have played
Oh, sure,
differently. But
sure.
that doesn't, that's all a choice. And if
Yeah.
we decide to hang on to that, or we go, hey, you know what? I learned from that.
Yeah.
So I'm going to leave regret outside the door. It's not coming into
Absolutely.
my world. That's something that I did that now, with all of my wisdom and knowledge, I would not do again. So therefore,
Mhm.
I'm moving forward with a new experience. I think that
Absolutely. Mhm.
how we frame that, you and I both are dealing with clients that oftentimes
Mhm.
have those things, and that's what shows up as an energy block.
Absolutely, it does. It stops you from really, it's like, how they say rose-colored glasses? It
Yeah.
stops you from seeing things clearly.
Yep.
So those things get kind of there, and you're like, okay, I missed this. I didn't treat my kids great, and I didn't do this, and I didn't do
Right.
that, and I didn't go here. And soon as they're all sitting there, and you're trying to see through this little sliver
Right.
of
Right.
life.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, one of the powerful things about those experiences is that that's wisdom we can share.
Absolutely.
This is what I've learned, and stripping the shame off of it,
Mhm.
stripping all of
Yeah,
that
that's
away. It is very important. It
yeah,
really, when I
that's a
wrote my
good.
book, I mean, I bear it all in my book. Like, it's like, this is how I was, right? But this is
Mhm.
what I learned. And I've had so many people say to me, how could you share those things? How could you talk about those things?
Mhm.
But I do that with great purpose. When I
Mhm.
struggled with shame and I struggled with, drowning in alcohol, what good is that experience if I can't bring it forward in a positive
Mhm.
way?
Sure,
You know what I
absolutely.
mean? So I
Yeah,
think that
I do. Me too.
that that's really going to be a big that's going to
Yeah.
be a big change for people if they can begin to not to look at the regrets, the things that they
Mhm.
term regrets, look at them differently.
And
You know?
shame is actually worn so long sometimes that we're not able to see that. And shame is
Yeah.
it's heavier than most of us think. You
Oh,
know,
yeah.
we say we forgive somebody, but that doesn't have nothing to do with shame. It doesn't
Right.
have anything to do with it.
Right.
You know, you can forgive somebody for hurting you, you can even forgive yourself for maybe neglecting your child in some way, and
Mm-hmm.
it happened, and you feel like, okay, this is affecting them now, and I did this,
Mm-hmm.
and you could hang your hat on that.
Right.
But what's so wonderful about second chances happen every day is that when you get that next day, you say, hey, son, or hey, daughter, I know I messed up on this.
Yeah.
But here I am today. I can't make up for that because it's done,
Right.
overdone. But here I am today. What can I do that we are here right now? Like you said, you are who you are, where you are. What
Yeah.
can we do right now where we are to be
Right.
that adult parent that you need? What can I
Right. I think that's
do?
such a great question.
Yeah.
That's a very healing question. Just
Yeah.
asking that question is
Yeah.
such a beautiful bridge.
Yeah. It
You know,
is. I know us had to do it.
100%.
We had to do it,
100%.
It's important, and I
It
think
is.
that taking it's the embarrassment, and we mix embarrassment and shame up together.
Mm-hmm.
They're two different
Yeah.
things. It's
Right.
being embarrassed to admit that I made a mistake,
Right.
and then the shame is different than that. The shame of probably, and this is for me, not admitting, having enough chutzpah to admit it.
Yeah.
So there's
Right.
two things that are happening here. It's the
Yeah.
shame of I should have been able to say apologize. I
Right.
don't know how to say apologize.
Right.
But then the embarrassment of apologizing,
Yeah.
that's totally different. It's the embarrassment. I don't want to be embarrassed. So I'm not going to say sorry. It's
Yeah.
totally different. But I'm just breaking down the
But
different.
you're right, though, because what you're talking about right now keeps the regret alive.
Yes, it keeps it alive.
Yeah.
You have to learn to separate them. We're such complex creatures. We're
Yeah.
not cut and dry, one line, or we're
Right.
so many layers that it takes a lot of inner work, whether it's writing a book, well, it's, maybe creating an audio, maybe it's sewing something, maybe it's doing hair. That's you coming out, right?
Yep.
And that once that creativity kind of bursts, then all these other things start to happen. Because I
Mm-hmm.
know my first book, that burst for everything else. It was like, okay,
Yeah.
what's more going on? And I started doing some inner work and starting to understand myself
Right.
that I was able to make those two distinctions. That's different. Being embarrassed to say
Right.
apologize is totally different
Right.
than shame. It's completely
Right,
different.
exactly. I mean, if we were robots and there was only one way to do
There you
things,
go.
all right, that's called failure, right? But we're
Yeah,
called human beings. So we're
yeah,
capable of making choices and we're
yeah,
also capable of making different choices.
yeah,
You
absolutely.
know,
Yeah.
when I wrote my book and when I talked to my kids about,
Mhm.
not having regrets on how I showed up as a young mother, it's really important
It
to
is.
understand that what I mean by that, it does not mean I would do the same things. It
No.
means that I was issued a toolbox as a child, and the toolbox that I had very broken tools in it. None of them worked, okay? And what I did not add to the toolbox. So I took that
Yeah,
broken toolbox and I brought it into motherhood. And none of
yeah,
these were going to work.
yeah,
So I was going to just completely make lots of mistakes.
yeah.
And by the time I realized that I could add to my toolbox, my kids were grown.
Yeah.
I don't beat myself for that.
Right, me
I
neither.
can't, that's not a
Yeah,
regret that I have.
yeah.
If I was given a choice to go back in life and do things differently, who in their human mind wouldn't take that
Of
opportunity?
course.
However, do I wish that I could? No, because we are where we are.
And
And
who
this
we,
is
yeah.
now. And
Yes.
now is okay
Yep.
because my toolbox is my responsibility
Mm-hmm.
what I add to it.
Yeah,
And if I
yeah,
hang on to regrets, I will never focus on the beauty of developing a powerful toolbox.
yeah.
I'll
Well,
stay
I
with the
didn't
broken
receive
tools.
any tools. I opened that box and it was empty.
Well, I mean, mine were kind of rubbery. So
And
they're like
nothing.
pretend.
I had nothing, girl. I had nothing. I was taking something circular, put in squares. I was doing, I had nothing.
Forget it. I
I
get
had
it.
to figure it out along the way. I had to use a lot of heart motion
Right,
in order to make it work, and
right,
then
right.
I was living on emotion most of the time when things were going wrong, and then I had to learn to calm that down. I know my kids tease me often, and they say, "Mom, you did not know how to cook, and now you're just like this chefing it up now." And I was like, "No one taught me." And I said, "Well, just think about it this: you were my proving ground to get where I am right now."
Right,
You know how I
right, right,
seriously, but
exactly.
when I said, "Did you survive?" They were like, "Yeah." I was like,
That's so,
"That's so
that's so, it's so funny. It's also the beauty of grandparenthood. Right
yes, the gift
now,
of this,
we're
exactly.
so different now.
Yes,
So
it's
different.
different. Yes,
I
and we can give
really,
them those gifts. We can give them those
oh,
gifts.
yeah, yeah. And I think that sometimes it's probably difficult for adult children to see their parents showing up as such an amazing grandparent, wishing that they had had that. But
Yeah,
what they don't realize
yeah.
is that there's this wicked humor going on. They're going through the same stuff right now. They just don't know it.
I'm telling you, my kids right now are feeling the heat, like, not the heat, but they're experiencing things. So my youngest grandson just turned 18 and had a graduation. So he's been coming into his own for a very long time, very creative. He doesn't follow too many people. He is his own entity. He's been here before.
Good.
So they're telling him, you have to can't wear this, you can't wear that when you go interview and everything like that. He said, listen, I want to be into fashion, and they don't think he's going to do well. But I let them, kind of talk to him. So my son's like getting exasperated. I don't know what to do with him. I was like, what you got to do is you got to offer him like I did. This is what you have, and this is what you have, and walk him through both processes. He may take both, but he may lean towards the other. But you can't disqualify one over the other, right?
Yeah.
So he looks at me. He's like, "Yeah, you did do that for us." I said, "Yeah, you're only frustrated because it's happening to you."
Yeah, it's so true. It's so true. It's
Yeah,
so
right.
true.
So
And
they do.
yeah,
It's just the thing of the universe. It's like the
yeah.
circle of life. It's the circle.
Yeah, the cycle continues. The cycle continues, and
It does.
sometimes, there's some times in our life that we wish that things were different and we feel we
Yeah.
play over and
Hmm.
over in our head, especially with relationships. If I
Yeah.
hadn't said that, if I hadn't done that, this wouldn't be
Yeah.
the case, that wouldn't be the case. And I really, to that point, I think it's important to sit down with a pen and paper and go, where has this benefited me?
Yeah.
And really give that some thought, and
Absolutely.
then where has this hurt me? And give that some thought because sometimes we need that pen and paper. I'm such a
Yeah.
huge proponent of pen and paper because
Yeah.
that loop in our head will continue to go because it's
Hmm.
habitual. It's a loop
Yeah.
that we have installed like permanently,
Yeah.
right? All we need to do is press delete. It can go
Right. Yeah.
away.
And a lot of regret is hung up in what I could have done
Yeah.
on, or this a different decision. But when we stay in the space, okay, I own that. I did that.
Yeah. Right.
Now, what's the next step? I'm a proponent of the pen and paper as well. I
Yeah.
truly do believe that, sitting down with a situation and writing it out, okay, this is the situation. Let's just say, I spent 10 years with this guy. It goes nowhere because now we're here and we're broken up.
Yep.
Write the story over again. It's like now you're looking at it like, wow, I saw all the red flags, but I paid
Yep.
no attention.
Yep.
But you know what? I take ownership of that.
Yep.
I take ownership now and put down. Now, what's my lesson out of this? Well, I won't disregard the red flags anymore. I won't
Yep.
collect them and ride around in a convertible with them. Tell you that
Yep.
won't happen again.
Right. Right. Right.
And we're so afraid of, we've agreed, here I go with the silent contracts again, but we agreed like marriage is forever. We agreed
Yeah.
that. I tell my daughter this all the time. I said, babe, what if your only reason for getting married was to save a child?
Mm.
What if that was the only reason? And that's okay. And she looked at me and goes, Mom, you're right. I said, maybe you came into that person's life to take their child and save them for the life they would have had should they have stayed in this situation, not
Hmm.
see it, right? But what if you ask yourself, what if it was the right thing to do? Ask yourself.
Yeah.
We ask everybody else. We don't never
Yeah.
sit alone and ask ourselves. And that's
Yeah.
where the pen and paper come in, right, Ann? They come right
Definitely.
in handy.
Definitely. I mean, that's what I did when I found myself. I had all the red flags when I got married. The red flags were
Mhm.
there. He wasn't a bad man, but the red flags were there. And it was during, everything was leading up to this unhappiness. But you know what? It made sense to stay. It made sense financially to stay. It wasn't a really horrible relationship. There's worse ones out there.
Yeah.
Games that we play, and then when COVID happened, I remember sitting there so vividly clear on my porch thinking, if I don't do something now, I will die like this. And my
Mhm.
fear of being on my deathbed going, I regret not leaving was
Yeah,
really strong. And I'm like, what's the worst that could happen?
that's right. We'd be happy.
I stay? You know what I
Be
mean? So
miserable. Be
really,
miserable.
but I think for a lot of people, that's really where it comes out.
It
What will
does.
people say? I've been married for whatever many years. I know people have
Yeah.
been married 40 years. They're miserable, but their fear, I can't
Yeah.
start over now. I've had people
Yeah.
say that to me. I
Yes.
can't start over now.
Yes.
Why would you give up on the most beautiful years of your life
Right.
because of a soundtrack, a
Yes.
belief system?
Yeah.
Where's the fact in that?
Right. There's no facts.
No fact, no proof.
You're right. You're right. In my marriage, I had two marriages, and I saw the red flags. I saw them as plain as day. Like I said, I rode around in a convertible with the red flags in the back seat, thinking that I was going to change things, right?
Yep,
And I wasn't. And we rationalize those things, which brings us to regret.
we
We
do.
rationalize the red flags, which brings us to regret. Because when you get involved with it, life takes over. So life is the driving force now.
Yeah,
Maybe children, responsibilities, finances, house, whatever it is, it drives it now. It
yeah,
doesn't. The relationship doesn't drive itself anymore. Now
right.
whatever is the driving force, like the children, maybe the finances, maybe that's driving. Then now
Yeah,
they're in the seat, so you have no control. So you're just sitting in the back seat, sitting there going la la la, and
yep,
then biding time. So regret has a lot starts to build up over that time. And if,
right.
like you said, should I have sat here and stayed in it, I would be
Oh my
probably
God,
also miserable. You would be, and you would probably die in regret, like die,
100%,
with it riddled throughout your body. You know what I'm saying?
100%.
I think and for me, when I left, I tried the first one. I tried and tried, and I was like, yeah, no. The second one, as soon as I felt something was going on, yeah, gotta go. I
Yep,
was like, I
yep,
didn't care who, I didn't care who knew, who didn't know. No,
right,
I'm not going to live miserable. I am not going to live miserable.
right,
And I guess I learned, you know what I'm saying? But I was like, I love the word singlehood because it's a choice that I choose right now
right,
because I'm in my own element, and only the person that comes that compliments me at a
right,
hundred and a hundred, at 100 and 100, not 50-50, coming at 100 and 100 will be entering my life. I can't,
right,
that's what I want. I'm not gonna, I guess, settle for it.
right.
I'm not gonna settle. Yeah.
Isn't that an amazing place to be? When if I look back at my younger self, if there was a gift that I could give to my younger self, it would just be like you just have no idea the power within.
Yeah. Yeah. You would embrace singlehood and solitude. I would embrace that. That would
Right.
be my thing. My
Yeah.
thing.
Right.
I feel so powerful now. Like I just know like I walk around and it's not even intentional. It's like I mean, people are looking at me and I'm looking at them like, what are you looking at? Like I'm just walking today. What am I
Yeah.
doing? But it's just the force and the change in your energy when you release all of those things, when you get out of the shame, when you get out of it,
Yeah.
and that goes for your body changes too. We didn't talk
Right.
about that, but I'm sure we will in another episode. But your body changes too. We have not gotten to the place that we've accepted our body the way it is.
Right, right.
We're
And isn't
not,
that something?
yeah,
Because we're listening to somebody else's rules say that we should look a certain way.
yeah,
And that's so silly, you
yes,
know? It's so, I always found it really silly. This always made me laugh when I never had an issue saying how old I was because I thought I was
yeah.
going to die so young that
Thank you,
every year I
thank you,
got to be another age.
thank
It
you.
amazed me. And
Yes,
so, like, what wouldn't
thank
I
you.
be kind of stupid if I walked around and I'm like, well, I'm 50, but I look batshit 60? I mean, isn't that stupid? You know what I mean? Like that would be so crazy to do that. And I'm
Right.
like, why would I do that? Because the message I'm sending me is you're not enough.
Yeah.
And
But what do we know about being 60, 50? What it
yeah,
looks like? We
you
have
just
no
said it. Yeah.
idea. This is what I told myself when reach 50. I'm going to show everybody what 50 looks like on me
Yeah.
every time.
Yeah.
You got to show it how it looks on you because nobody knows what it looks like. Nobody
Yeah.
really knows what 50 or 60 is supposed to look like. They don't know.
Right.
They don't
No,
know. They
no,
have
because
no idea.
they
So,
don't.
and giving us those signals is horrible. And I had to literally, and I tell the story, and if my audience is watching, get that long mirror, body mirror, flip on down and look
Yeah.
around and say, I love all of me.
Yeah.
You gotta.
Right. Because you're encompassing what all of you has been through.
That's correct. That is correct.
Man,
That is
that is some
correct.
amazing stuff. You know, when we
Hmm.
show up as we are, presenting as we are, we're coming with a whole package.
Yeah.
We're not coming with just, bodies and our
Right.
faces and our hair
Yeah.
and nails. It is our entire person.
Tired about, yeah, Italian persons.
You
That's
know?
it. And we
Yeah,
gotta come like that. We gotta love ourselves. We really gotta love ourselves.
yeah,
And I think regret comes from not loving ourselves enough to say,
sure. It's a good
hey,
point.
hey,
Yeah,
I did this and I didn't love myself enough. To
right.
say, yes, I deserve this. Like you said, I am enough. I didn't love myself
Right.
enough to say that.
Right, right, right.
Hmm.
Exactly. And I think that for those folks that have regrets over things that they cannot
Yeah,
change, it's merely accepting, there are some
but
things
they
we
can't.
cannot change.
Yeah,
And
but they
so,
can't.
however this relationship played out because of,
Let it go.
actions or words, it has played out. And so, what can I do with that? I can learn and I can move forward and I can
Exactly.
continue on my journey because I still have so much of me to offer.
Exactly.
And I've learned from that. I mean, there's relationships that I've had that, I won't be able to rebuild, and that's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. They ran their
Mhm.
course. Some people
Yeah.
are there for a reason or a
Right.
season. Not everybody's in your life forever. So I
Yeah.
take that information and I move it into the next relationship.
And I think it's important to remember, audience, is that when you're debriefing, and I call it debriefing, you have to debrief these relationships, these situations that you're
Mm,
probably regretting. You have to debrief
yeah,
them. That means taking that suitcase that you have, maybe it's a 12-year relationship. That 12 year that bag has 12 years worth of unpacking.
right,
12 years that you have to unpack.
right.
Don't just be so ready to deny yourself of being with yourself and
Yeah,
jump into the next relationship. Don't do that.
right,
Give
right,
yourself time to debrief. Open that package. Open that suitcase of that last relationship, of that last friendship, of that last job, of that
right.
last incident. Give yourself time to open that up and say, take out this. Okay, what do I do? What don't I need in this? Maybe it's the pack, the little pack that you have, or the deodorant and all of that,
Yeah,
toothbrush. Maybe
yeah,
I don't need this or where I'm going next. I don't need this. This is
right.
old. Let me get rid of that. All the deodorant's used up because I know I do it. I'm like, oh man, there's nothing in here, and I had this in there for about a year. Gotta go throw it out. Get rid of
Yeah,
those things, right? Clean out your suitcase before you go somewhere else because the same stuff is going to be in there. So that means
exactly.
doing some inner work with either myself or Ann, someone like us. Clean it
Right,
out. Get a bigger picture because sometimes we don't see it for ourselves. We both
right,
had to go see somebody. We both
right.
had to get coaches. We
Oh,
both
yeah.
had to get therapies.
Oh,
So
yeah.
we did that. So we're saying to you, do take the time for yourself. Those are all gifts to yourself. Coaching
Mm-hmm.
and therapy and time, solitude with yourself. Not alone time, but
Right.
solitude. mean,
Right.
sitting and learning yourself, learning to appreciate yourself, learning, excuse me, that you see some women sometimes cut their hair once they leave a relationship, or they let it grow long, right? Or they
Yeah.
change some things, the way they dress. Why? Because that's a newness. It's
Yeah.
realizing this is what I always wanted to do.
Yeah, yeah, and doesn't that feel good too?
Yeah, yeah.
It really does feel good. Yeah, I think that contemplating where we've been and how we've showed up and anything that we may be regretting, whether it's with our job or things that we did or didn't do. Maybe they're things we didn't do.
Mhm.
Isolating is very different than contemplating in
Yeah,
solitude.
yes.
And that it's so easy for things to begin to show up in our bodies, like
Yeah.
back to the book, the body keeps the score. Like it
Mm,
truly does. And regret is something that can manifest in such really deteriorating ways in our
yes,
body. And
yes.
when we can learn to accept that there are some things we cannot change,
Yeah,
however, we can learn from them. And,
absolutely.
the wisdom to know the difference. I know this starts to become very familiar to many
Yeah,
people, but I
yes,
mean, that's just something that, we don't have to play safe and play small to play full.
exactly.
You
You
know,
don't do any of that. You don't have to do that.
I,
But it shows up in signs of exhaustion.
yeah.
Physical tension. I remember getting tension here all the time. Like as soon as or in my back, as soon as I'm taking
Mm,
on something that I know. Now I've not exercised, not did anything that was strenuous, not picked up anything, but it would show up in my back because I say to myself, "What
mm,
have I taken on that's not mine?
that's good.
Responsibility have I taken on?" And it right away, I examined myself, and I was like, "Okay, now I got to sit down with paper and pen, like
Yeah.
Ann said." And start, okay, what am I I'm holding this up because, okay, maybe it's my son, maybe it's a situation with my son, I'm trying to bear weight for what he needs to
Hmm.
learn. And
Sure.
okay, and
Sure.
I got to write that out. No, I can't do that. And start to change that narrative so that it can ease on your body. And stress related aches are real. They're real. They're
Yeah.
real. They're real.
1000%.
If you go to the doctor and they say they don't know where this is coming from, it's coming from stress.
Yeah.
I've heard so many of my clients say, I've been to the doctor, no results. They keep taking me to go to test. I said, it's stress.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're holding on to something that doesn't belong to you.
So
And,
true.
and one of my friends was said to me, no, I'm not stressed. I said, no, you don't believe it, but it is. I
Hmm.
said, you can act like you're not, but I said, your body is telling you before
Yeah.
your mind even knows it. So don't forget that that's how it shows up. When you're just like Ann was saying, those limiting beliefs, and they're in your brain, and they just keep going over and over and over and over again. Well,
Right.
guess where they're showing up? They're showing up in your skin.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you're getting tags everywhere. What's going on?
Yep. Rashes. Yep.
Rashes. It's showing up because it's your skin. Your skin is the biggest organ you have.
Right.
It's going to show whenever you
Right.
have something coming out. What's going on? What am I thinking about? What am I doing? What am I believing that this
Right.
is happening here?
Yeah, so
It's a
good,
good
so
trigger. Yeah.
good.
So
Boy, and
remember
isn't
that.
it a
Yeah.
beautiful thing that this
Yeah.
can be so much of it? I mean, obviously you and I like love what we do, and coaching people
Mhm.
is a passion for sure.
Yeah.
But being able to sit with that pen and paper and really think this through and start to write out,
Right.
before I draw my last breath, I want to boom, write all those things out. And then it right there, you've got an action step. What's one thing I can do today to put me closer to one of those goals? Just
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be, I'm going to get all 10, whatever the things are. You know what I mean?
Right.
Everybody,
Exactly. You're not.
but
Yeah.
I mean, you have to start somewhere,
Yeah.
and
You gotta
that's
start.
just,
And
that's
that
where the
and
power
it
is.
will take you. Yeah, it takes you further. Ann and I both have books that can help you do that. And I know Ann has
Hmm.
them. So she put it in the chat.
Yeah,
I also,
definitely.
when I was going through a lot of what I was going through, I wrote this book called The Big Ask, right? And the big ask was, what do I really want? Who am I?
Yeah, love it. Love it.
And there's over 50 questions in there that will, deepen what you're trying to figure out. So say if you, and here's is a simple question. I asked what it was asked. I asked myself, what do I really want to make per month? That's a simple question, right?
Yeah,
Do you know? I couldn't even figure that out,
sure. I
right?
get it.
I couldn't even figure that out. And then after maybe 3 months, I figured out that I was replicating somebody else's idea of what that month looked like for me. So I was
Juicy.
listening to the gurus, listening to, other people, just listening. And it wasn't, I was like, that would make me happy. But when you do the numbers, figure out how much time you want to be spending doing all that gets that number, you're going to change your mind real quick. Okay. So, like Ann and I know Ann has a schedule with her real estate because that's part of her business as well. That's
Yeah.
all encompassing. She coaches in real estate. So she's working in that. She's probably saying, I ain't working no 40 hours. That ain't
Nope.
happening.
I don't play 40. Huh.
And I say the same thing. I'm not working enough. No, I'm not doing all those hours. I'm not doing that. That's not what I want time to do this. I want
Right.
to talk about freedom.
Right.
Freedom is like, and
Love it.
I love Ann because she gets up and go. We'll be talking on the email. Oh, I'm going somewhere tomorrow, and she's always in Ireland. She's always in Ireland, guys. Ireland. Come on. That's freedom. That's freedom. And
Yeah.
it's important to, even if you just want to be on the lake,
Yeah.
even if you
Yes.
want to go on a walk,
Right.
that's freedom.
Right.
Even if you want to eat
Right.
dinner at the local restaurant, that's freedom.
Right.
When you're locked in and you want that big number, that the 15,000, there's a whole lot that has to be done in that 15,000 a month. Okay? I just
Right.
want you to know that. But
Right.
I just I realized that. I came to realize that. And that book, The Big Ask, was written during COVID. To be honest with you, all
Nice.
those questions were written during COVID, and I was in here like trying to figure myself out. And these questions open. I go back to it every year. Every year I go back to it and open it up now because your years change now. Every
Yeah.
5 years, sometimes you can
Yeah.
change. So you
Right.
go back and you say, "Is this what I really want now?
Oh,
Is
for
this,
sure.
is
For
this what I
sure.
really want? Is this success the same 5 years ago for me? No, doesn't look
No,
the same.
we aren't the
So
same.
no, we're not the same. And so reevaluation in these regrets are important.
Hmm.
Reevaluation, okay? So always reevaluate.
Right, right, exactly. Yeah. I really hope that audience, I hope you enjoy the homework that we give you because there is a reason for it. And our
Mm.
worksheets are very powerful tools.
Yeah, they are.
They're really powerful tools and they're strategically developed for this reason,
Mm-hmm.
like to live with the regret is debilitating.
It
Get it
is.
out
It
on
is.
paper. Be honest with yourself. Not
Yeah.
there's censorship, right? You don't have to go in front of your church friends and read the worksheets just for you.
Nope. Just for you. It's
Really
just for
very
you.
important to be honest with
Yeah,
ourselves. So yeah, I'm
absolutely.
excited too. I'm definitely going to put, our books in the show notes and make
Yeah,
sure that, such great resources for
yeah,
people. And
absolutely.
then as always, please send us questions. Like we love
Yes.
comments, we love
Yes.
feedback. We love, love,
Yes.
love that.
Absolutely. Thank you
Awesome.
guys for
All
being here
right.
today.
Well, I
Thank
hope
you.
everybody has a fantastic day and you, my friend, enjoy NYC.
I will, and you do the same for Florida.
Yeah, thanks. All right. Bye,
All right,
everyone.
talk to you soon. Bye now.